A very good afternoon, distinguished guests and the students here at Silpakorn University. It's such an honor for me to be here and to share with you what I've learned about technology, even though I'm a dinosaur, to be honest with you. Um, as the MC has introduced to you, my name is Suwitit Chaidarun, and you are probably familiar with my English with a Thai accent. So I'm Thai. I was born in Thailand, and I grew up in Thailand. But I went to school. Well, I should say that I grew up and I studied in Thailand until I was old enough. I went to USA for my education in 1999 for my master and PhD. And now you can guess how old I am. Okay, I grew up during the time that I never ever would have thought that every year we would wait and wait for the product launch, that most of the consumers and the technology geeks around the world would wait for, like the Samsung and Apple would launch their mobile phones. And these days, if anyone hold this foldable Samsung phone, they would probably think that, hey, I look like I'm the upper class person. I look like I'm someone that cannot be beaten with quite easily. I'm from another league, that sort of thing. But of course, there are some utilities of all those foldable phones, right? They might be useful for some sort of like business transactions. They might be useful for people who want to kind of like communicate with business partners, who want to receive information and read so much information on the news along the way as they travel, right? I also grew up during the time that I have to carry this to school when I did my master's degree. Did you know this? Do you know what it is? Have you seen it before? Some of you nodded, and those of you are probably from the same generation as I am. And I don't see the nodding from Silpakorn universities at all. I don't know whether you can guess what it is. It's like that thumb drive, and to be honest with you, thumb drive is being obsolete now as well, right? People don't use thumb drive anymore. People upload their files on the cloud, right? That is something that I had to carry with me, and I had to buy like quite a few of them when I did my master thesis to save all my theses in that floppy disk. Because if I lose one, gosh, my life will be miserable, right? And this is not to mention that when I went to school in America, when I did my master's degree, I came straight from like my entire education when I was in Thailand. I grew up in Chiang Mai. I went to Chiang Mai University for my undergraduate degree. I had never been overseas before. I had never been exposed to international education before. So during those days when I grew up and I wrote papers, I had to handwrite all my papers. We didn't have personal computers like you guys do. You don't even type on personal computers, I think. Kids these days, they can type on their phone. And I can't even do that. I have to kind of like pinch one by one. But the young kids these days, they can kind of like type with their two thumbs so fast. I can't do that. And the story is, when I went to school to do my master's degree in America in 1999, my professor had to allow me time, extra time to do papers because I couldn't formulate my thoughts to type in front of the computer. I had to handwrite my papers first and then go type on the computer afterwards. And that got me into thinking like technology affects the way we live. Technology affects the way we do things. And technology kind of like changes the way we live our lives in so many ways. Based on the first keynote speaker, you probably saw that technology changes the way we do business already too, right? So with that, when I arrived in Thailand, because I haven't been back for a while, I tried to look at the advertisement in Thailand. and try to figure out like how many advertisements use the word innovation in their slogan, in their campaign, to claim that their product is innovative in some way. Gosh, I can't count anymore. Just one night alone that I arrived, right? I look at all the advertisements. Most of them says that our products are innovative. We use innovation in this, in that. Even this cream that people apply on their face to get the face whiter, younger look and all that, they claim that they are innovative. They use innovation, new ingredients and all that. And it got me into thinking that, is that really innovative? Do you think that just the cream that added a new ingredient that has never been used in other cream before, is that considered innovative already? How can we justify and evaluate that claim in particular? Right? That something is innovative. So with that, in this presentation that I will try to make it fun, make it quick, make it short if I can, I will want to ask you to pause and consider for a second that the term innovation that has been used a lot in so many areas these days are being overly used, but we never critique, we never thought about it, whether or not the things that we see as innovative are really innovative. And that causes a lot of problems for both academicians, both practitioners in the future when you enter the job market and when you say that your product is innovative. Are they really innovative? So with that, I want to bring you back to some of the original theories about disruptive innovation that proposed the original idea of like the disruptive technology and how it affects the organization to come up with new idea, innovative idea. And then use that to really evaluate to what we are experiencing these days, whether or not things that we see as innovative are really innovative. At the university, I know that AUT, my university right now, UTS, or at Silpakorn University, I think that should be, or there might be some sort of like teaching excellence award to give to the instructors, right? And these days, they try to, many universities rename that into Teaching Innovation Awards. But then all those people who, all the projects that won the innovative teaching awards, are they really innovative, all right? But let's take a look at some of these theories and try to kind of like unpack that and see whether or not we can be mindful about disruptive technology when we come up with new strategies to be innovative for our lives, for our organizations, and for our research in the future. I start to sound like an academician now. I think the floor is a little bit too fancy to talk serious about that, but bear with me. Just the first 10 minutes here that I will be very academic, and then after that, no, I'm not going to sing. I can sing for you if you want, but I will give you more examples about how that disruptive technology affects communication industry, because like the first keynote speaker who came from tourism industry, I'm from the communication discipline. So we'll take a look at some of those disruptive technologies and how it affects communication industries and the research that I'm doing with the industries a little bit as well. So with that, there are some questions that I think we need to unpack first. What is actually innovation in your view? Innovation is something new, right? But how new is new, right? And what is disruptive technology? When we try to unpack this, we have to give credits to this guy, Clayton Christensen. I don't know if you heard of his name before or have seen this book before, because this is the original idea of the term disruption, disruptive technology, or disruptive innovation. He's a professor from Harvard University, Harvard Business School, and he wrote a book based on his research called The Innovator's Dilemma, where he studied the floppy disk company. And he tried to kind of like figure out like why that floppy disk company failed, why they cannot sustain that business, right? And that pattern, how it affects other businesses in the world, right? So he wrote all his idea in this book, and after that, he wrote several books with his colleagues, with his PhD students. Some of them apply to other businesses like printing businesses and all that. But for me, I'm quite interested in education, higher education in particular. So he wrote some of the books that are relevant to higher education, like Disrupting Class, Blended Learning, Innovative Universities, and stuff like that, based on this theory of disruptive innovation. Now, let's try to make it quick, because I'm not here to give you a whole full hour of theory of disruptive innovation, and you don't want to listen to that in full detail anyway, right? Based on this theory, there are three main principles only that would be identifiable factors to judge or to assess whether a situation is considered disruptive, and disruptive innovation should come out of that, right? So what are the three principles here? The first principle is that most organizations or most business in the world that we would call incumbents businesses, or business that exist already and they established themselves in the market already, right? They tend to maintain their market. Universities, for the whole period of like history, maintain that business by thinking that smart kids will come to universities, the parents will pay for the university, and we call that the incumbents kind of like industry, because they maintain that kind of market that they think that are their customers, and they kind of try to put all the resources that they have in order to make sure that the needs of that particular customers that they want to target are met. Okay, with that, there is a gap as well, because the gap is that once they target one group of people, there will be another group of people, or maybe so many other groups of people who are ignored, and those ignored target groups could be the potential market for the new entrants, the new organizations that want to come in and penetrate into the market that the existing incumbents organization have ignored based on their positioning in the past, for example. Okay, so the incumbents business try to maintain the status quo, but the new entrants try to penetrate into the market, try to please the ignored target group by using new technology that allows them to reach out to the bigger, wider groups of people that are ignored, because the new technology allows them to access the products and services faster, right? So with that, it comes to the second principles here. The second principle explains that, generally speaking, the incumbents or the existing organization, what they tend to do is, when they create innovation, their innovation is just what they call sustaining innovation. Meaning that it's just a little tiny change in the products or services that they already have to serve the the target market that they have in the first place. But then they forgot that they didn't put the resources for the ignored group of people at all. And it's the opportunity for the new entrants to create the products and services that is new to the market that is ignored. And that new products and services is called the disruption or the disruptive innovation. This sounds a little bit abstract and theoretical. Let's put it in a university context again. The incumbents are usually like the universities that you have seen, right? That we are kind of like familiar with. Who is the target market of the universities? Younger generation, right? The teenagers who come to the university to do bachelor degrees or master degrees and all that, right? But what is ignored there? People who want to get universities, people who want to get education, but they don't want to kind of like they may not have the access to go to the university. They cannot attend the university. And that's why these days, have you heard of the word MOOC? For students here, are you taking MOOCs? MOOCs, right? And for instructors, are you pressured to create your MOOC course at your universities? I must say, my university, even though they don't want to do a MOOC course, they create the online platform for instructors and kind of force us to do and teach online somehow. Why does that happen? Because they start to feel that there could be other good students out there who cannot come to the universities, and those people are ignored. And they could be served by this new technology called MOOC, or the online course that will allow the people out there to access the quality education better or easier as well, right? So MOOC stands for the Mass Open something, I forgot, Mass Open Online. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Online courses, right? Massive open online courses. So anyone can take that. It's like if in Thailand, it's like Sukhothai Thammathirat in a way, right? Anyone can take a degree or a course from those MOOCs, and any subjects that you want to study, you can find it online everywhere. And there are not just the formal MOOCs these days. There are other organizations that start some online teaching like this. Have you heard of Udemy? Udemy? If you go Google search, you might find that. If you want to study things like photography, for example, cooking and all that, Udemy has a lot of courses offered and at a cheap price as well, just to serve this group that has been ignored in the past. I don't know whether that's good and that's bad, and what ethical, cultural, and social impacts that kind of using disruptive technology to reach out to the mass like that would create. We will pause and think about that at the end of this presentation together as well. I'm not here to advocate that this is the right thing to do, but it's something that we are experiencing, and we probably have to think about it mindfully as we move forward here. All right? That is the two principles that I mentioned already. The last one is that the incumbents or the existing organization, when they try to please the existing customers, right, they only allocate money and resources to do everything they kind of like can to excel their business to that particular group of customers. So they ignore the people out there that could potentially be their customers as well, all right? So with that, I think I'm gonna skip this one because actually I have some activities for you to do online, and then I can project this online, but on the screen. But since we don't have the projector or we cannot connect the computer to the internet right now, we just skip that. But I want you to pause and think, or maybe spend 1 second here talking to your neighbors, right? I think it's better if you turn around, say hi to people who sit behind you, because I know you sit with the people that you know, right? Just turn around and say hi to each other real quick. Turn around, please. Turn around, say hi. And if you don't know each other, just tell the neighbors who sit behind you your name and all that. Can you please do that real quick? Turn around. Hello. Say your hello to your friends, neighbors who sit behind you or next to you. Okay. At first, I want you to kind of like post some of your thoughts on this website called Answer Garden and project this on the screen, but we cannot connect the computer to the internet right now. If you can kind of like use your QR code scanner, you can probably see that some people that I asked this question to post has posted something already on the web page that I created here. Okay, it's called Answer Garden, and I'm gonna check that website right now together with all of you. If you use the QR code to scan and type maybe one keyword about the things that the universities are facing, the challenges, you might see your results coming up. I can see that at the center of the page here that I have, it say the decreasing number of students. Is that right? Is that what your universities are facing? Some university, AUT is doing well because people want to go to New Zealand, right? People want to go to Australia, all right? At my university, I'm not, let me be honest with you, we are not facing that problem just yet, but we are kind of like preparing ourselves for that as well, because the number of the students are stagnant. It's stagnant for the past few years already, okay? So I don't know, if you have time, try to post something here and I will see more answers coming up from you, okay? So what university is facing here is like the theory of disruption or disruptive innovation that I just mentioned to you with the 3 principles. Okay, because they are facing another competitor, the online organizations, the online institutions, and you may think that, hey, come on, we are universities with long history and all that. Not anymore now, right? Even Harvard University, even Cambridge University, they now start to offer like MOOC courses, and we have to compete with them. Another thing, another term that emerged as well from this idea of disruptive innovation is teacherpreneur. Have you heard of that term? Or edupreneur. It's a combination of teacher and entrepreneur, or educator and entrepreneur. There have been people who write academic books about that, because these days, people start to listen or watch the YouTubes to learn new skills from the celebrities. And all those micro celebrities, they establish themselves as edupreneur or teacherpreneurs. Again, I don't know whether that's good, that's bad. And what are the cultural, ethical, and social implications that we need to take into consideration. But it's something that is true that these days, younger generations, they start to get information from all those people. And it's something that we, in our generation, like the older guys like me, will have to start thinking about, like, how should I move forward with my career, with this kind of disruption, more mindfully, more cautiously, so that I can still maintain the integrity of education that I want to pass on to the younger generation, to my students in the future, when compared to those edupreneurs or teacherpreneurs. So with that, it's something that is disheartening, but Peter Drucker and Clayton Christensen has predicted, like, some 20, 30 years ago, that the universities would die, and that happened in America. That happened in America. Small liberal arts college in America, several of them are collapsing. I know that the situation in Thailand for smaller universities are facing the same situation as well. But if your university is established, if your university is doing well and maintain the integrity, quite a few are still kind of like surviving this disruption. How do they do that? It's something that we probably need to discuss and think more. With that, we get the sense of what disruption is, what theory of disruptive innovation talks about. Now, let's talk about our own communication business and communication industries. How many of you are majoring or focusing your study on communication here? None? Okay, quite a few of you, you are quite shy here, right? Students from Silpakorn University, I think you are from the faculty of ICT, right? And communication is part of your career, right? So quite a few of you should think that what you want to do in the future. Is the industry still the kind of industry 5 or 10 years ago? If you want to be a PR practitioners, are you going to be or equip yourself with the same set of skills that PR practitioners have before? If you want to be a journalist, you want to grow up and be a good journalist in the future, Do you still want to equip yourself with the same set of the skills that journalists have in the past? And if you do so, will you survive in this disruptive age? Let's think about that. Not long ago, a couple years ago, I think you probably heard the story that even news agency, they start to try to implement AI using artificial intelligence, right, to write news articles instead of the journalists, right? And what will make journalists, human journalists, who graduate with a journalism degree and communication degree better than the AI machine that writes news? Think about that for yourself. With that, I want to share with you real quick with the two papers that I'm trying to finish, and I have presented both papers here, both papers that I'm going to share with you at international conferences earlier this year, right? The first one is the paper that talks about OTT TV. You know this term, communication students? You need to know this term, OTT. OTT stands for over the top television, okay? OTT TV. What does it mean here? It means that with the new technology, people can stream themselves, broadcast themselves, right? With the technology here, okay? To the smaller or bigger group of audience, doesn't matter. It depends on how you build your fan base and all that, okay? That is something that changes the landscape of broadcasting industry. Do you know these guys, younger generation? Who is he? See? Most of the younger kids know. I didn't know until recently. And I only knew it because his feed, his viral video clip popped up on my channel because I love technology. I want to kind of like look at how people review technologies. And then all of a sudden, he got a chance to go to Singapore for that GoPro event. You know GoPro, right? The small action camera, right? He was invited to that GoPro launch because his channel, do you know how many subscribers? It's like 1 million or something, right? He has been a celebrity. Even when he was in America, he got a lot of Thai fan base here, right? About 1 million here. And these days, I think he just finished his degree in America and returned to Thailand. He became a famous person right away, immediately, just from that OTT TV channel that he managed well by himself. Good, bad, ethical, professional, I don't know. Think about that for yourself. But it turns out to me that a lot of younger generations, they start to listen to these people. And they kind of like think that these people are their idols. Okay? So, that is something that we have to start competing with as the instructors, because students don't want to listen to us because they want to go out and don't want to listen to my lecture anymore now. Okay? They want to listen to K, for example. You know these two guys or two girls, one guy and two girls? You know? They are from the Philippines, and they just came to Thailand not long ago because they created their YouTube channel, their own channel, and they had like over like how many million people, I don't know, around the world, not just in their own country. So they became like the micro celebrities here to promote that dancing skill and that siblingship and all that. Quite cute, but you can see that there are some potentials that if you use the OTT TV in the right direction, you can create good influence on people. Because for this one, right, they show their talent, their skill, and their kind of like brotherhood, sisterhood, the family relationship, and they create their fan base based on that. This one, the Masked Singer, the power of OTT TV is not just for the normal people like us anymore. Even the mainstream media, they start to kind of like make use of OTT TV power to enrich their own program, to start building their own fan base right now. The Masked Singer, by the way, for non-Thai friends here, I don't know if you have this show in your country. I think we bought it from Korea, is that right? The original version is from Korea, right? Of course, the show itself is broadcast on the mainstream television, but they have to broadcast on OTT TV, like Facebook Live of their channels as well. But not only that, they have the celebrities who do the review, the reaction, that help boost their fan base too. This kind of like complications in the media industry where audience can become the producer of the content creates the more sophistication of the business structure that the disruptive technology has created. And so with that, with you guys, the younger generation that will graduate with a degree and want to get a career in this field, you have to start thinking about what you can do with the new emerging technology. How can you use it to create the positive social change? Of course, in my paper, I talk a lot about the historical kind of like accounts of the OTT TV in Thailand and compared to other countries. Right now, we are in the age of expansion and we are not reaching up the maturity and all that yet. Some of these reports are the paper that I cited from the NBTC, the Gosothoch, the National Broadcasting Commission of the country. They conducted the research and document this in the past, and they saw that OTT TV has created different structures because in the past, the television and broadcasting program, right? If they are the producer, they are producer. But for OTT TV, there are so many structures that people have to scratch their head, and I don't know where we are and which department you have to work for because these different OTT TV, sometimes they are content creator, sometimes they are the platform, just providing the platform. And sometimes they are just the device or the application on the device like Line. They have Line TV and all that as well, right? And by the time that they reach the end users, you don't know who create the effects on the end users already because there are so many complicated structures out there that we communication researchers and specialists will have to figure out and tease out all these structure, all right? So this is something that I wrote in detail in the paper too. But for the sake of our discussion here, I want you to pause and think for a second. I just gave you some good examples of how OTT TV can be used to create positive effects on the audience, right? But in reality, are they all positive? There could be some sort of like backfires or the misuse or the bad usages of OTT TV or technology in communication industries or among other individuals as well. For example, not long ago, when there was the story about like people committing a suicide, some journalists try to kind of like do the Facebook Live. And is that an appropriate thing to do? To show or broadcast when people is trying to commit a suicide to the audience out there, right? It's not good for the friends and families, and the photos and the videos that people see could be disheartening, could be sad, and create some sort of like mental turbulence to the audience mind as well, right? And with that, I don't know if you remember, our National Council tried to kind of like create the deadline and try to charge Facebook, Netflix, and other OTT TV for their kind of like a platform as well. But in the end, they cannot do it. They have to give that up. I don't know. I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't had a chance to follow up on this issue for quite some time. For a few months already. I don't know whether they can charge now. Netflix, they can charge Facebook for providing Facebook Live to everyone. Okay, all right? Because they want to, of course, one thing is to make money. The second thing is to regulate that, right? And, oops, before we go to that one, this is the second point that I want to highlight to you is that the OTT TV gives the opportunity, freedom for just normal individuals to broadcast their own stories. And that could be good, that could be bad. The second point that I want to raise here is that it begs for the difficult regulations as well. It's not easy to regulate because once you open up the freedom for everyone to broadcast themselves, you don't know who's going to broadcast what and when, right? So what regulations could be set up to make it fair to everyone? But if we regulate all OTT TV, what will happen? All creativity will be suppressed too. You know this story, right? Younger kids? Are you following this? This is quite a few years ago, right? But I think they still have some fan. It's a story of like boy love. Okay? That I would say the non-mainstream stories or series quite a few years back. You would never ever see like same-sex couples in Thai TV 15, 20 years ago. If you see that, you see it like as a joker. You see like the people who don't, who are like LGBT as the jokers. Only you won't see the normalized relationship of LGBT people. But when this show happened, right, it was made big by OTT TV somehow because, let me put it this way, because even though it's broadcast in the mainstream media, but it's the OTT TV that broadcasts internationally, that enhances the fan base of this couple, of these two guys, right? And if you go to Philippines, you go to China and all that, you will see that the guys even have the fan club meetings in all those countries. It becomes the pan-Asia kind of phenomenon of boy love stories on the television already. And that is enhanced because of OTT TV, because all those fans, they create the reaction, they create the review, they react and talk to each other, and makes this phenomenon become so big and become normalized. Not long ago, I heard a story that their fans in China, and this is the Thai guy, right, bought the billboard in Times Square, New York for this guy. And can you imagine how much they have to put together the money for this, right? And too bad, so sad. If we convert that money to do something for social change, for the kind of like positive result of the society and all that, we could be able to, you know, save the dolphins' life. What's the name of the dolphins that died of plastic and all that, right? We can use that money to do something better based on the good use of OTT TV, right? That's one of the paper that I was trying to finish based on the new disruption technology that affects the industry. With that, the last paper or the last project that I'm trying to complete before I leave Australia, by the way, I'm going to be leaving Australia next month to come back to Singapore. I'm interested by the fact that in Australia, in America, and in the UK these days, when people do media relations, you heard of this term, right? You know that is the major task of public relations practitioner. Because when you do any product launch, when you do any projects, you have to invite journalists to come and cover your story so that journalists can report your stories in their newspaper, on their television channel. And that's task is called media relations. In the old days, media relations 1.0. What did PR people do? They sent out news releases to journalists, right? And those are the written texts, pretty much, to invite journalists to come and cover their story. But after that, about 5-10 years ago, organizations start to have their own media channel. They start to have their own YouTube. They start to have their own website. They start to have their own blogs. I would call that media relations 2.0, where PR people not only invite journalists, but they have to be content creator by themselves as well. But these days, what happened is there is another third-party organization emerging to mediate between PR and journalists. And how do they mediate that? I want you to think of this third-party organization as the dating site. You don't have to answer me you don't have to answer my question right now, but if you think of the dating site that people put up their profiles, this third-party organization is like that. They will keep the profiles of journalists, the profile of PR people, so that when the journalists or PR people want to send stories to each other to make sure that, hey, I want you to come cover my story, right? They send it to the right person. And this third-party mediators serve as that matchmaker. What do they do? I'm just going to move on this so fast because this is just the literature review of this project. What do they do? This third-party organization in America, the biggest one is called Help a Reporter Out. If you have a chance to do Google search, you can do that right now. Help a Reporter Out is like an online platform where journalists can come and kind of like put their names, put their requests in to secure an interview with organizations, with PR. And then Help a Reporter Out will send the request to the right PR, right person, right organization. In Australia, they have this organization called the Public Address. They do something similar, but Public Address cater for public relations, not so much to the journalists. They kind of like profile the journalists, but it's the PR people who will have to generate the request that, hey, I'm going to conduct a press conference on this environmental issue. Could you send my pitch to the right journalist so that I have enough journalists to come to my press conference, for example? This kind of organization or emergence, third party, use AI, again, artificial intelligence, to matchmake the profile of PR and journalists. Is that good? Is that bad? Think about it for yourself. You are younger generation. I'm sure that most of you here have Facebook profiles. Anyone does not have a Facebook profile? Probably very minimal these days, right? When you put up your profile on Facebook, they collect all your information. They can matchmake you with the advertisements and all that. Similar things happen to journalists and PR. These AI systems matchmake journalists and PR. Now, what are the implications professionally, ethically, and socially to the two occupations? I don't have an answer yet because, to be honest with you, I'm still in the middle of data collection for this project. I'm interviewing journalists and PR people in Australia, and it will be interesting to figure out what they say. But in general, what I start to see emerging as a pattern is that there are, of course, people who are cautious about using this AI, putting their profile on that AI system, and then try to kind of like make use of this third-party organization. But there are people who are optimistic about using technology to enhance their professional work as PR people and as journalists as well. Okay, I think if I have a chance next year to come back to Thailand, I can talk about the final conclusion of my study here. But as I said, I'm in the middle of interviewing. I have 30, 40 interviews so far from both journalists and PR practitioners about the view that they have on this third-party organization and the way they think about being profiled on the AI system, right? So it will be interesting to see. Okay, but all in all, I want to wrap up my discussion today and share with you that we are in the midst of disruption age. Most organizations of disruption as the situation created by technology. And we have to come up with strategy to really respond to that disruption. Okay? I'm not saying that that's a bad thing to do. But I think it's time for us to step back a little bit and look back at the disruption here. I think there is the opposite poles emerging all the time in the whole history. When the university wants to create the MOOC course to make sure that it's open to everyone, okay, that everyone, that MOOC course, at some point when it evolves, the ignored market that became the students of that MOOC course will be the mainstream market at one point, right? And then the people, the students who go to mainstream university like you guys right now, will be the ignored one at one point in the future. So if you read the literature on online teaching, we have MOOC course. Right now, they start to talk about the SPOC. I don't know if you heard of that term. SPOC is the opposite of MOOC. They use online platform too, but it's the specific, it's not mass, online course for specific organization. It's not open to everyone. Okay, so it still use the online technology, but they want to serve to just specific group of people. This is just to show you that at one point, when you try to play along the game with the disruption mindlessly, without thinking carefully, right, you will fall into the trap that you are serving the ignored group of people, and then that ignored group someday, temporarily, evolutionarily, will become the mainstream. And the main group will become the ignored part again. Someday, right now you think the university will die because you don't have enough kids to come to school. But in the future, down the road, 10 years, 15 years, I'm sure that people will crave for the stimulating, intellectually kind of like education that they want to get from the university again. It's just a matter of like at this stage of time when we are facing the middle turbulent era of disruption, how are we going to proceed or move forward mindfully and think about the social, political, cultural, and ethical implications of using technology that affects our career in the future. And with that, thank you so much for your time, and I hope that I can give you some points to consider to cope with the disruption, and especially if you want to get a job in the communication industry in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Suwishit Chaidarun from University of Technology, Sydney, Australia.